Very good afternoon to everyone. Um, Once again, we are here in new semester. So welcome to fifth sem. And you have attended today a first lecture of AJP, right? Advanced Java Programming. So you know the overview of the subject, right? If I'm not wrong, you already know overview, right? What you are going to learn, what you are supposed to do in the subject. Is it so? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right. Okay. So my very first question that what do you mean by MVC architecture? Yes. What do you mean by MVC architecture? Though we have seen this thing into our previous semester core Java subject, right? But again, I'm asking the same thing. That what do you mean by it? MVC.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. You are audible.
Yeah, ma'am. Its full name is Model View Controller, and ma'am is an architectural pattern that separate an application into like three logical parts. Is
Okay.
view, then controller, then model. This maybe.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Why we are starting with this? Because see, your very first unit is advanced networking, right? And here in this networking, you will be having the socket programming, right? Socket programming, where a client server based application you will make, right? And all the programs are related to that. So first, I mean, at least one or two lectures will be passed. Then and only then we will be at least able to do this programs, right? If you don't know what is socket, we cannot start directly in our first lab just programs, right? That is why what we are doing is first we will understand what is thoroughly there in your syllabus. Okay, so a very first thing is advanced networking, fine, where you will learn about the sockets. Now, do you know what is socket? Any one of you? Do you know that? What is socket programming? And for what we
Ma'am,
are
it is door bit.
yes, Ashish.
It is door between application layer and transport layer. Like information can be passed from application layer to transport layer using the socket. We use socket for that purpose.
Sorry. Just pardon.
Ma'am, socket is used for transferring the information. Ma'am. It is like a door between application layer and transport layer,
Yes, correct,
so
correct.
that we
So
can
we
pass
are
information.
simply communicating with each other. It is something like that where there would be one of the client and one of the server, because client is requesting to server, right? And server is responding to client, right? And we have seen a different kind of package. If you remember, one of the package was what? Java.net. So do you remember that? Right?
Yes, ma'am.
That package we will use here, right? For the client server programming. Okay, yes, Anmol is saying IP plus port number. Yes, correct, because server is known by IP address and it will work on a particular port number. Yes, correct. Ravi is saying yes, using for app to passing the data. Yes, correct. Shubham is saying client server programming. Yes, correct. Right. So basically what will happen if the client, see, if in a single lab I'll have a 50 of the computers, right? If one of that is behaving or acting as a server, right, and the rest of the 49s are the client, right? If one I'm making it as a server, so all the client need to request to server, right? And each and every client's session should be maintained. Okay, so if one of the client is requesting to server socket, because here you will be having a classes like server socket and normal socket, right? Here the types of socket, socket API, that what you will learn, right? What is datagram and everything. Server socket is what, normal socket is what, right? So whenever you are requesting for any of the server socket, it will create another socket for a particular client. So that particular socket is dedicated for only one client. Then again, another client is requesting to the server socket. So again, server socket will create another socket for the client 2, which is dedicated for client 2 only, and so on, right? So this is how, whatever the number of clients we are having, that many sockets will be created, which is dedicated to their particular client. Okay. So whatever you are requesting to server, once your request has been accepted, right, at the same time another socket will be created, and later on whatever you are asking to that server for that particular client, response will be given by that socket only. Okay, very simple to understand, right? And each and every computer is identified by the IP address. Okay, so over there you have to pass your IP address and the port number, right? What could be the port number, and so that you are going to learn into the theory sessions, right? So right now what we can do is, first we will see what is MVC architecture, right? You already know that. One of you have explained very well, right? That it is model, view, and controller, right? So who is acting as model, who is acting as view, and what is controller? Can you tell me this? From your syllabus only. JDBC programming, that is for your database connectivity, right? No? So this will come under what? Model, view, or controller? Yes. Any one of you can answer this?
Model.
Okay, yes, correct. Because wherever we are having our logic, over there only database would be there, right? So here this unit is all about the database, right? Then have you seen this servlet? Right, you will learn here servlet, the servlet introduction and the life cycle and so many things, right? What are the different types of servlet and how you can configure and deploy. Here the descriptor, then attributes, and so many things. Fine. This will be what? This will act as what? The servlet is for
Controller.
what? Yes, it is for controller, because servlet is always you are writing for server programming, not for the client side, right? It is always for the server side programming. So servlet code, whatever you will write, that is for server, not for the client. Okay, fine. Then JSP, Java Server Pages. So this is for what? Yes, Java Server Pages.
View.
Yes, it is view, correct, right? Because
It's just view
whatever,
for viewing.
yes, whatever the view will be there at the client side, okay, at the client side. Initially, whatever the view, after the response, whatever the view, it totally depends on your controller, how it is controlling, right? Here the controller is the servlet. Java Server Pages is at the client side, how your data is passed to the client and how it is viewed at the client side. Okay, I'll show you the example, don't worry about it. Then Hibernate is again, it is a kind of framework, right? Then Spring MVC, that is again a kind of a framework. And what is this? This Bean is what? Yes. Bean is for what? For view, for controller, or for the model? Do you remember that? Yes, model, correct, right? So at the model side, you would be having your pure logic. Okay. At the model, it could contain only your logic for which your program is to be made. Say suppose I have given you the example, if you remember, into the core Java also, that say suppose it is for the factorial finding, right? If it is for factorial, then what is your main logic? That is factorial. Say suppose I'm writing here factorial calculator online. Okay. And when I'll go over here, suppose this is one of the site who is calculating factorial for us. So this is what the view, this is what the view which client can see. This is the label, this is the heading, this is again the label, this is again the label, and here is the text box where user can write something. Then this is the button for clear. This is what the calculate. So whenever I'll click on the calculate here, answer should be there. So this is what the JSP at initial stage. This is what your view. Okay. This is your view, what the client can see. Now, suppose I have entered here 5. And when I'll click onto the calculate, what it will do? First, it will go to the server, right? Server will find appropriate model for it. Okay. Server will find model for it, that where actually the logic of factorial is residing on server. It will find that model. It will directly send your data, means this is 5. That will be to that model, right? So I need to calculate the factorial of 5. It means that it will calculate that, and it will again come back to servlet, and servlet will redirect whatever the answer is there with some another form. Okay. Again, the view may get changed or it may not. It depends. So now when I'll click on calculate, what will happen? See, view has been changed or not. Over here, only the answer tab was there. Inside this answer, they are returning this thing, the whole thing, solution tab, right? And they are giving us the solution. So this is how MVC will work. I hope now you are getting. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. View depends on model. No, it is not depends on model. Whatever you are writing, I mean, see, the another page would be there. JSP page would be there, right? If first page is your home page where you have requested for something, and whenever your answer is returning, maybe you are redirecting to the another page, right? So that is totally depends on your logic. Okay, where you wish to redirect. Okay, I hope it is clear, Ravi. And again, you will learn this thing. It is not like that you are not going to learn. You will learn these things over here, MVC module, right? Spring MVC. Okay. But this is in general term. Okay. In general term, we are discussing this topic. Okay, right. And here you are having Java server faces. Java server faces is the expression language, right? You will learn that it's extended version of Java server pages, and then you are having Java server faces. You are even having a JSP standard tag library, JSTL. That also you will learn. Validation tags and database access and everything, right? So this is what your syllabus, and what you are going to do in your lab, that is, say suppose it's your first unit about Java networking, you will do 6 programs. Then an experiment 2, that is for dedicated for the JDBC, right? Second unit, you will do 7 programs. Then for the servlet, you will do 8 programs. For JSP, this many 13. Then for Hibernate framework, you will do this 3 plus 3 for the Spring framework. Spring and Hibernate, they are the names of framework, right? And JSF, Java Server Faces. For that also you are doing this too, right? So this is what your lab manual, right? And this is what you are going to implement in this lab sessions. again. So right now we cannot start with this, right? We cannot start with this until and unless you don't know what is actually the circuit programming, right? Once the fundamentals will be clear, then and only then we can start with this, right? So what we are going to do for now, we will just brush up the concepts. Okay, Sunny is asking about JDBC. Yes, Sunny? JDBC what?
Ma'am, I think your experiments are based on the topic, sir.
No. Yes. Based on the topics. Here we are having no JDBC experiments. Yes. JDBC programming means where you are just creating the database. Right. This is second. All right. For this unit, you have only theory. So you don't have any kind of programs for that. Unit 3 is only simply just the theory. Okay, J2EE and web development. Your actual programming then again will get starts from servlet. Okay, any other query? What is JSON file? Yes, Shubham, you are asking about JSON file. That is not the topic for now. Okay, you will learn everything into the theory sessions. Okay, here we are just doing the practicals. Fine. Okay, fine. So what we are going to do for now? We are just doing the brush up of the concepts of Java, right? This is what we are doing for this lab. And for this also, we can use the same IDE like the core Java. Yeah, you can use here the NetBeans, right? Or the MyEclipse. Anyone, whatever is the preferable, right? NetBeans is fine. You don't have to install any other IDEs, right? MEM is using what? Depends on that. Otherwise, NetBeans is fine. JDK will be there by default if you will install the NetBeans, right? Okay. We can still run the same programs. I mean, this first one, which is purely the concept of here the core Java only. You can even include this unit into the core Java, this advanced networking. Here you are making just the .java file only, right? And then you can run the programs via that CMD, right? The Java C and the file name .java, and you can run the program Java and the file name, right? So by that way also, you can still run this first unit. But after that, for Servlet and all, you have to use the NetBeans. Fine? Okay. Now any doubt? If we use normal not paired, then seeing JDK of SE is okay. No, you have to, I mean, see, I already said, no, you have to, because now you will have a client and server programs and so on, right? So the extension will even get changed, right? HTML, for that you will have the browser and all, right? So for that you need the Glassfish server or the Tomcat server or something like that, because database connectivity will be there. So how you can normally run a simple program onto the Notepad, right? Yes, chapter 1 was into the computer network also. Yes, okay, good. Ma'am, will make the software also in the subject. Yeah, you will. You will. Whatever is directed by ma'am, who is taking your theory, right? She will let you know. Don't worry. Okay. So any doubt now? Fine. Okay. So let's start with our core Java fundamental, right? For today. And from the next time, we'll start with our actual programs of our first unit, right? The 6 programs that we will be able to do. Okay. Fine. So, very first thing, what are the OOP principles? What are the different OOP principles that what you have learned? Yes, what are the different OOP principles? Main three, you can say, OOP principles. Yes, that is encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and the abstraction. Okay, so can anybody tell me what do you mean by abstraction? What is abstraction?
Excuse me, it's wrapping data.
Yes, sorry, just pardon. Yes, Kaisen.
Yes, I say it's mean wrapping data. Wrapping. I mean, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Fine. So it is something like that. We are hiding the data in the sense that where it is not necessary to viewed by the user. Yes, Neeraj, correct. So we are hiding the data which is not necessary to viewed by the others, or you can say the outside of world, right? Just like your mobile phone. So this is what the example we have discussed, right? That for your smartphone, it is only known to be that how to operate your smartphone, right? But what are the different hardwares they have used, or how they are attached, or so on, that is not necessary to know by you, right? So that is why there is one layer, you can only see the screen. Okay, so that is what known as abstraction, abstracting the detail, hiding the detail which is not necessary for you to know. Okay. Then what do you mean by polymorphism? What do you mean by polymorphism? Okay, showing the data in different forms. Okay, having many forms. Okay, what is the example of that? Anyone can tell me this? One entity, many faces, having many forms. Yes, fine. Can be changed to any form, shape. Exact example of polymorphism, and you can say, okay, this is the polymorphism. Okay, method overloading is the polymorphism, correct? Yes, clay, you can say, yes. But in the terms of Java, you can say the plus sign, right? If the plus is there in between two integer numbers, it will do the addition. But if the same, if two variables, they are of the string, then it will do the concatenation, all right? So it is behaving accordingly, all right? Fine. Okay. Then, yes. Then what do you mean by inheritance? What it is? Okay, you can say that inheriting the property from one class to another. Yes, deriving data from one to another. And why we are using inheritance? To achieve what? Yes, for the code reusability, correct. If one data is written already, if one of the thing is already there, then why to create that thing again and again, right? For example, the car, new models are there, right? So every time they are not starting to make that model from the scratch. No, it is not like that. Already the previous version is there with them. They will simply add or remove few of the facilities or the features into it, right? Then you will get a newer version, new model of the car, right? So every time you don't have to work from the scratch. Already 90% of the thing is available to you, and you are just doing the changes of the 10%, right? Same way for the there's MS Word and the Excel and all, right? Every time new versions are there. For software update also, right? For the WhatsApp update also, every time you will have a newer version that you need to update this app. So update means there are few modifications are there only, right? Otherwise all the data is already there, they are just reusing it. That is known as inheritance. Okay. Then what do you mean by the encapsulation? What it is, encapsulation? Yes, it's wrapping up of data and methods together. Yes. So what is the example of this? What is the example of encapsulation? Can anybody tell me this? Class, yes, correct, right? So class is an example of encapsulation. That's what we can say. Yes, correct. So it is again one kind of data hiding, but how the data is hidden? It is like with the use of access specifiers, right? No, because whatever the variables and methods access specifier, yes, correct. Access specifier, you are specifying based on that the data is hidden. If you are making it as a private, nobody else can see it. If it is the public one, everybody can use it. If it is the protected one, then the same package members as well as his child, whether he is in a same package or into another package, he can use the data of that class, and the default means it is visible into the same class. By default, what should be the visibility of any of the member? If you are not specifying anything, then
Default.
yes, it is default, correct. Yes, correct, right? It is default. Because you are not writing anything, it means it is visible into the same package, right? So all the other classes can use the same data, right? Whatever is any of the classes having as a default one, okay? As a default one. If it is a private member, you cannot access it. Okay, correct. So this is what normal, simple OOP principles. Okay. Now the another thing. What do you mean by method overloading? Yes. Method overloading. What do you mean by that? Okay, same name, different parameters. Okay, methods with the same name and return type, but different parameters. Even return type could be different. It is fine. Yes, method having the same name, that is the main thing. Yes, correct. Okay. So we can say that a single method is having the same name with the different parameters, or return type could be same, or it could be different, but it will not differentiate the two different methods. Suppose I'm writing here void add, and I'm writing two integer variables, okay, and I'm writing here float add, but again the same, or you can write over here integer, it would be more relevant, right? So these two methods are not method overloading, right? Because compiler will give you an error. Why? Because the only return type change cannot differentiate two different methods, right? So either here the name should be same, So that is the first condition. And after that, if the number of arguments are different, then it is fine. Or if the arguments are same, here also 2 arguments, here also 2 arguments, then at least one of the argument should have different data type. Then and only then we can say that these 2 are the different methods, right? If I'm not wrong, yes, okay, yeah. Then what do you mean by method overriding? Method overriding. First you have said about method overloading, now riding. What it is? Yes. Changing some contents. Different class, same method. Yes, correct. Defining base class and derived class. Not defining base class and derived class. Child and parent class have the same function. Yes, yes.
I mean, ma'am,
So,
just showing the things which is declared in base class and derived class.
okay, fine. Okay. So what I can say is, if I'm having a class A and if a class B which extends the class A, means they have the relationship of inheritance, and if one of the method I'm writing here, which is void area, the same method, if it is there, exactly copy and paste, nothing should be changed. And if I'll write over here, then this is known as method overriding, all right? Because you are redefining this method. Okay, fine. Okay. So what do you mean by compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism? Yes. What do you mean by compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism? Static and dynamic, okay. Anything else? Functions are assigned during compiling. That is compile time. Compile time is overloading. In runtime, function call not known till executing. Yes, correct, Ashish. Okay. So suppose I'm having a class A, right? And I'm having here void area. If class B extends A, again I'm having void area. If I'm having class C which extends A, and again the same method name void area, right? This is what I'm having, right? So we are creating here in another class with the use of public static void main, and here I'm creating the object of class B first. B is equals to new B. Okay, and here I'm creating C is equals to new C. Okay, and if I'm calling the method with the use of this B dot area, this is known as compile time or runtime. Method overloading compile time, method overriding runtime. Okay, fine. Compile time, yes. So if I'm writing here B dot area and here I'm writing C dot area, it means that compiler know this thing at the compile time that which method is going to be called, right? So this is known as compile time polymorphism. But instead of that, if I'm creating a parent class reference here, and every time I'm setting that reference that A is equals to right now to B. So it means that your reference is right now pointing to the object of B class. And now if you will call this with the A dot area, then this is known as runtime polymorphism. Do you remember that? Yes. Good. Right. Same way, another time we are setting that A is equals to C. So now your parent is referring to C class object. Okay. And then again you are writing here A dot area. So here the compiler will get confused that every time you are calling this area of with the use of A, so actually which method will be called? It's of A, it's of B, or it's of C, right? So that this will be decided at the runtime. So this is runtime polymorphism. Okay, fine. Okay. Then what do you mean by this keyword? What do you mean by this keyword? Reference keyword, okay. Used in constructor, okay. Refers to a class within which it is called, okay. Refer to a class, not exactly. It will refer to the current object. That's what you need to say. Refer to the current object. So what it means that whosoever has invoked any of the method, whosoever has invoked the constructor, their object it will refer. Okay, fine. If I'm using this inside the function, right? So who has invoked the function, say suppose object dot function name I'm writing here. So who has invoked this function? This object. So this will refer this object, right? If I am creating any of the object that a object is equals to new a. So this is what I'm simply calling here the constructor of this a. And over there, if I'll write this keyword, then it will refer to this object because this object is responsible to invoke constructor of a class. All right. Okay. I hope it is clear. Yes. Okay. Then what do you mean by yes, parent A is equals to new child? What will it do? So your parent class is referring to the child. Okay, because see, you have used new keyword with the child. So it is actually creating the object of child. But your parent class variable is referring to that newly created object. And it will invoke the constructor of child. Okay, Anmol. Yes, of course it will work. Even at the time of anonymous class, we have used this, if you remember. Anmol. Anyways, fine. Okay, fine. No issue. Fine. The next is, what do you mean by super keyword? Where you are using super keyword? Why you are using super keyword? To refer parent class, member and child class. Okay. But why it is required?
Many parent and child both have, let us consider same data name. Like in
Yes,
parent also
yes.
there is int a, and like in child also there is int a. And we want to call the a variable from the parent in child. So we use support dot a.
Yes, correct, Ashish. Very nice. To access the method or data of parent. Okay, so there are the three use. One is with the constructor, right? Second is with method and with the variable. For the constructor, we can understand, right? Because constructors are not to be inherited. Do you remember that? If I'm having class A and if the constructor is there, okay, let me write this. If I'm having class A, right, I'm having three variables here, integer A, B, and C. And if here I'm writing this constructor, right, that is this integer I, J, and K, I'm not writing the full things. Okay, I need to write it else. Fine, integer I, integer J, integer K. So what you will do, generally you are using constructor for what? Now another question, what do you mean by constructor? Okay, and then we will discuss the super keyword. What do you mean by constructor? Why we are using it? Mainly for what? We will see this later on. First, what is constructor? To create the object? No. For creating the object, we are not using constructor. What is constructor and why we are using? To initialize the variables. Yes, to initialize. Yes, correct. That is the answer. Okay, so if I'm having a class A, I can even have functions, or you can say the methods, rather than the constructor, right? Suppose we have used first the set dimension. Do you remember this? And if I'm having a integer I, integer J, integer K, right? So I can even set this variables, because here I'm having three variables, right? Integer A, B, and C, which I need to set whatever the user is giving. So what I'll do, A is equals to I, then B is equals to J, and C is equals to K. So this is what I'm doing. Okay, but I can even here what is the problem? Whatever is written, and I'm closing this class. We are creating another class here inside this here public static void main, and you are creating object of this class. Suppose A or B equals to new A. Right. First you are creating the object, and via the object help you need to call this method first. Set dimension, and you can pass here 4, 5, and 6. This is what you need to do. But here you need to write one more line for this, and you have to remember every time that you need to call this method first, and then only the main methods. Main means for what you have actually created this program. Say suppose I have created this program to find the volume. So if I have created to find the volume, then I will be having one of the method, no, volume, and so on. So before calling this actual method volume, first I need to set the variables, right? Very simple thing, but I have to remember this every time. If I'll forget this, then the problem. If I'll directly call the method volume, then okay. So how you can eliminate this thing? You can simply do this thing with the constructor. So what you are doing? You are giving this to your constructor only. You are eliminating this thing. Here instead of void set dimension, you are simply writing A. So this is what your constructor now. Right? And here the constructor will automatically called whenever you are creating an object. And every time you are creating the object, fine, so that is for sure. So whenever you are creating the object, it will call your constructor. Simple. So you have eliminated one line over here. And now you can directly call your actual function for what you have made this program. All right? Okay. So this is what we are doing. I hope this is clear for everyone. Yes. Give memory and necessary resources to the object. Good. Right. And the same way how we are having the method overloading, the same way we are having constructor overloading. Right? Same way we are having constructor overloading. So what we are doing is, we are having the constructor name that would be same as the class name every time. So here you just need to change the number of parameters or the data type of the parameters. Right? So this is what you are doing. That is known as constructor overloading. You can create as many as constructor you want in your class. Okay, fine. So now again we are simply back on our original topic, which is super keyword. So why we are using super keyword? So the thing was that if any of the class who is having the relation of here the parent and child, suppose here only I'm having class A, right? And I'm having one of the method void area, and I'm having class B which extends A, again I'm having one of the method, and so on. So here say suppose I'm having variables integer A and B and one of the methods. So this will be there in inheritance, means accessible variables as well as the functions, they will be inherited into your child, but the constructor cannot be inherited. Constructor won't be there into your class via inheritance. Fine. So you need to call the parent class constructor, right? Because it won't be there into the child class directly. So that is why you are using super keyword with the constructor. Is it clear? Suppose I'm having this class A, right? One of the constructor is there where I'm having this variables integer I, j, and k. That what we have done. The same I'll copy. Okay. So this is what we are doing inside the constructor. Now, here this is over. Now there is a class B which extends A, right? So here one more variable is there, integer D, suppose, right? Here I was having 3 variables in my parent class. Now in the child class, I'm having one more variable. So actually you cannot see here, but ABC is also here, right? Because it will be there via inheritance, right? As you have not specified it as a private, it is a default, and default will be there via this inheritance in your child. So here is integer D, right? Now you are creating constructor for your B class, but here you are providing all the details, that is of all your 4 variables. So you'll write here integer I, integer j, integer k, and integer, let's say p. And you need to set all these things again, right here. And one more, that is for d, that d is equals to p. Fine. So this is what you are doing. But already your parent has done this thing. So why you are doing this thing again? So you are eliminating this code via the super keyword. Super will pass I, j, and k. So that's it. And for one more variable which is introduced only in B, for that you are writing D is equals to this P. But for this I, j, and k, it's already done by your parent. Then why you are doing this again? So you are simply writing this super I, j, k. So this is the first use, yes or no? All right. What about the others? They are not even listening. They are sleeping after a very good lunch.
We are listening, ma'am. We are listening.
Okay, fine, Kaisen. Good. Okay. Right. So this is the first use, right? Yes, yes, yes. Very good. Very nice. Okay. So what are the other use? What are the other use of super? When I say no with the method and one with the variable. So how? I mean, why it is required to write this with the method and variable? It's of only one R. One R. Yeah. So we are about to finish. Yes, in super keyword, say how it is useful with this method and variable. Hello? Yes. Calling a parent method or variable having same name as that in child. Yes, correct. Right. Otherwise, there is no need to write super with the method and variable. Why? Because I just said that your all the property, I mean your variable, and if there is any of the method, suppose void show is the method. So this method void show as well as this variable ABC will be there in class B via inheritance. So no need to write super and so on, but it is required only and only when your super class is having the same variable name like integer A, and your child class which extends class A, and it's also having the same variable name integer A. Now you generally used to create object of your child class always. So you are writing B object equals to new B, right? And you will call OB, you will call OB dot here, say suppose A, right? This is OB dot A. So which A will be referred of class A or of class B? Which A will be referred? It's of B always, right? Because it will give always the preference to its own class variable. So if you are creating object of B, it will always call this OB dot A, it will always access it of its own class. But what about the super class? If I want this integer A, then you have to write super dot A, right? That is only the use of super keyword. Same way, you have one of the method void show. I'm not writing everything inside it, just a method, right? And you have the same method into your child. Means this is the method overriding, right? You have redefined this method. And when you will call that object dot show, then it will always call here this show method of your class B. But what if I wish to use this method? So at that time, you have to super for accessing your parent class same name method. So is it clear? Any doubt in this?
Ma'am,
Yes.
we have to use super dot A in the main class, right? Where we are creating the object
Sorry.
to access the in the main object in the main class, ma'am, where we have written ob dot A. To access variable from class A, we have to write super dot A or what? In
Oh,
there, ma'am.
that you are writing inside a method, not directly into the public static void main, right? In one of the
Yes,
method,
ma'am.
you are accessing this. No, do you remember that? Say
Yeah.
suppose in void show method only. Here you are writing that. Okay, I'm not writing anything here. I have redefined this method. Suppose void show. So in system.out.println, you are writing here what is your variable name is, right? The variable name is, and you are writing here A. In the same way, if you wish to uh, access variable A, but that is of your parent class, then what you need to write here, super.a, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So same way, if this is your void show method, but this void show method will be called, I mean, every time you are using object.show, right? But if you wish to call your parent class method also, then here you can write super.show. So first it will go to your parent class method show, it will be executed. After that, it will come to this. So it will be executed by both. Fine. But you cannot write super inside the public static void main, right? Because a class can say this is my super. Outsider class cannot say this is my super. All right. Okay. Fine. So that's all for today. We have brushed up mini concept today of core Java, and next time we'll start with our actual the actual programs of the advanced networking, right? with the client server socket programming. Okay, fine then. You can write your enrollment numbers here and you may leave.
Have a nice day, ma'am.
Yes? You can write your enrollment numbers here. If you have not yet written, please write it and you may leave the meet. Yes, Ava, Hysun, Lile, Matthews,
मैम
Ruby. Yes, yes, Sunny.
मैम नेक्स्ट टाइम हम लोग मतलब ये नॉर्मल जावा प्रोग्रामिंग करने वाला है या फिर ये यूनिट का?
No, no, we will move further directly to this program set, no dear. We will move on directly to those programs from the next lab. This is of Java networking.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I hope you have written your numbers, Ravi Kumar, Sandesh, and Kaisun.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, Ravi.
I didn't write roll number because there was a net problem. I just joined after 7 minutes.
So please write your number. If you are not able to do so, then just let me know your number, the last 3 digits. Yes, Ravi Kumar, quickly. Okay, fine. Fine, you all may. Yes, yes, you are able to write, then it's fine.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.